Hey guys, Martin here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so today, with the landscape of the game still being dry as a desert, no news, no teaser, no nothing. We know that there's the new stage of the Daima Red Zone coming out on the 28th, and that makes sense for the prediction for when the next Dokkan Fest is going to be coming as well, since we are expecting one at the end of November. So the fact that we already know some form of content is coming out on the 28th, it makes sense for that to be essentially when the next lot of stuff comes out. So realistically, with no teaser or anything like that today, it kind of just means that we probably aren't getting anything until the 28th now. So this is obviously Sunday the 23rd. We're going into a new week as of tomorrow, the beginning 24th. And yeah, essentially, as far as I know, there is nothing that is scheduled to be coming. Unless we get a teaser for something tomorrow morning, maybe. But I mean, the 28th is Thursday. So I guess it would mean like we'd have to get a teaser. If we're getting some kind of teaser, it would have to be tomorrow. And then the full like info on Twitter and everything would literally just be Tuesday. So who knows? But in the meantime, we are going to take a look at another hot takes thread. A few of these have been popping up. I don't know if it's the case of, with the game being a bit quiet, more people have been making these, or if it's just a case that I've just been seeing more of them. It could be that typical like cycle type thing where obviously like the more I'm doing these things and like the more I'm seeing the threads, then more threads obviously are coming up. So that obviously could be the case, I suppose. But yeah, I found another one here that seemed quite interesting. So shout out to Gino. This is hot / under the radar takes. Been playing since Physical Goku Black released on Global. Swapped to JP to use Tech Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta with his leader skill. Came back for SSR INT UI's release and dropped it until the 4th anniversary, and have been consistently playing since then. That's crazy to think that, because yeah, I do actually remember now, like when INT UI Goku came out as an SSR only on Global, I think it was for like the Christmas, was it the Christmas banner? And then yeah, wow, I didn't even think about the fact that the 4th anniversary was obviously after that, because I'd like moved to a different place like since that in UI Goku came out. But yeah, so this person has been playing consistently on Global, I guess, although no, switched to JP and then came back for in UI, so I assume that means still on JP. But yeah, playing consistently from the 4th anniversary, so over 6 years. So yeah, there's some takes in here that are definitely from the golden age of Dokkan, or the back in the day, I guess you could say. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look. As I always say with these videos, whenever we do stuff that is from like someone in the community, you know, don't go over to this person's Twitter and leave like any sort of negative comments or anything. If you don't agree with any of these takes, obviously do let me know in the comments why you don't agree, but be civil about it. Just, you know, the typical golden rule, right? Respond how you would want to be responded to if it was you posting your opinions, right? But let's go ahead and take a look, shall we? So number one, I hate how these guys were done. They really don't feel special or wanted on teams, even as a complimentary piece. There's just far better units, even pre-GDC, that compete so much better than these guys. I find myself finding more use with the INT LR Super Saiyan 2 Gohan than these bums, and it's the STR Broly and AGL Majin Vegeta Super Easy A's. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, I think Broly's one was pretty good, but I kind of get the point of the take, right? Where it's like, these guys are not the, they're not really ever like go-to #1 picks for teams, outside of like, I guess, the World Tournament now for Majin Vegeta, kind of. Broly's Super Easy A essentially messed up his World Tournament synergy by the fact that he now has so much ki. But then Majin Vegeta became super good for the World Tournament, so it's kind of a an interesting like switcheroo, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, I do kind of get it. Like, I think AGL Majin Vegeta Super Easy A is quite good and maybe a little bit underrated. Like, I have enjoyed using him on some of the team builds that you can throw him onto, but he's definitely not like anything super crazy. I don't know if I don't really use INT Super Saiyan 2 Gohan much anymore, but I would say like when he got his Super Easy A, I probably used him quite a bit more than I am now currently using Broly and Majin Vegeta. But let me know what you guys think. Out of those three initial, like the 70% meta lead LRs, super easy A's, which one you think is the best, or which one you think has or will age the best? So now we have number 2. This is an interesting one. Unlike the fake I want different style, difficult content people, I'm a real one. I enjoyed all these fights for not being straight up stat sticks and different strategies to use rather than the cookie cutter, just use the strongest unit in the game. And we've got the Giant Form Clash, Divine Wrath and Mortal Will, the Fighting Spirit of the Saiyans and the Pride of the Wicked Bloodline, and then the Peppy Gals event. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I guess, like, it is true. People say, like, oh, I want different kinds of endgame content. And then different kinds of endgame content comes out, like these events, and then people don't like them, or people complain about them. And it's like, I get what they're saying here, because a lot of these events with the different strategies for the different stages, you don't just bring the strongest team in the game into the event and just win. And they're not like, you know, if you don't bring the strongest team in the game, you can't win. They're a lot more diverse than that, which I guess is the point, right? When people say we want different styles of difficult content, because really when it comes to like red zones, apart from the differing mechanics with things like locking and bomb orbs and all this kind of stuff, red zones and like the blue zone, Supreme Magnificent Battle, like it is literally just stronger enemies with higher stats, like, and that's kind of it, right? And you just bring your best team that can withstand that sort of onslaught. Whereas these are a little bit different, and you have to think a bit more about like team building. It's like when Super Battle Road came out for the first time, and like events had, the hardest events in the game had for quite a while had things like being immune to stunning, being immune to sealing, and all that kind of stuff. And so when Super Battle Road came out, the teams that were the best teams in the game for destroying all the rest of the content were getting absolutely crushed in Super Battle Road, and people had to sort of remember those other units and go back to characters like, you know, STR Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, because you needed a slot 1 tank and he could stun one of the enemies, which was massive. So yeah, different kinds of content is always good, because it means you have to think differently and like build teams differently. It can be frustrating because, especially for newer players, or if you don't have as varied of a box, it can be a lot more difficult to fit the molds for the different kinds of team builds that these events require. But I do also think on the flip side that some of these things have been annoying, like the Giant 8 Bardock team fight. I think it was, I would say it was more annoying than it was like fun to do, but it is good to have stuff that is different. Like, I will agree with that. So burst mode, high scores are some of Dokkan's most fun content to offer, and it's a bit of a shame more people don't try to reach for it. I love the competitive nature of trying to get the highest. This week seems dead to most, but I've been having a blast with the 4 active burst modes, and you can see here a bunch of different high scores for the different burst modes. I mean, yeah, I agree. I don't know if well, I don't know. I was gonna say, would I say it's one of the most fun things? I mean, maybe not, I don't know, but it is very fun. Like, it's one of those things when there is nothing to do. The only downside, I guess, is apart from the GT Red Zone one, because burst modes are always Dokkan events, obviously that means they cost like stamina to do, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, it's super fun, and it's something that we've done in the Discord for quite a long time, where people will just try and set like the highest possible scores, and then, you know, we'll see what we can do in terms of who can get the highest score, what kind of scores can actually be set, and like just how crazy you can go on some of the modifiers. Because when you set a large amount of the modifiers, like, good lord, the runs can take so long, it's absolutely crazy. And then of course there's nothing more frustrating than getting like an hour into a run that you've put a load of modifiers on and then dying to like the only unit on the rotation that wouldn't survive a super getting super attacked. But I do think burst mode is really fun, and it is a shame, I guess, because it is completely optional. Getting the base points for all the missions, which is usually 6,000 points, is like super easy. So I know a lot of people will literally just get the 6,000 points and then they stop and never play it again, which, you know, that's fair enough, but it's definitely fun, I think anyway, going for those higher scores and like seeing what you can get. So let me know what you guys think down below. Have you ever tried for like crazy high score burst modes? Have you gotten some good ones? Let me know what you think down below. Number 4, snowballing into talks about competitiveness. I think speedruns are also another underrated part about Dokkan. Going for the best time is incredibly fun. And they're showing a screenshot here. This is like when the Tech Broly build came out and like people were beating Festival in under an hour with how like absolutely crazy this guy can go. I mean, for me personally, I've never been super into in any form of like gaming and stuff. I've never really been like super into speedruns. I do think it is kind of cool. And it is cool to see what people can do with these crazy builds in order to get these events that, you know, were taking nearly 3 hours and getting them beaten in under an hour. It's pretty cool. It's not something for me personally that I enjoy. Like, I like more, you guys know, over the years with like, you know, pushing the heroes agenda and stuff, like just being able to beat tough events with teams that are not necessarily optimal, which of course is almost the opposite to speed running, because a lot of the time those runs take like twice as long as they would with a better team. But I do also appreciate the fact that it is something that like some people are into, and it is a cool like aspect of the game. Obviously they're never going to put in, I guess, like missions for speed. Like, imagine if there was a mission for Festival that was like beat the event in under an hour. That'd be insane. But yeah, it's an aspect of the game that, like I say, personally, it's not for me. It's not like the kind of thing I personally enjoy, but I can see why other people do. And it is something that can be very cool and fun to see the kind of shenanigans that people get up to, just like with the burst modes, right? So, number 5, not might, but I am a masochist for missions like this one. Genuinely spent hours brainstorming and booted up private server solely to find the best approach to this mission. I really don't mind beating it first day or even week. I loved knowing it was taunting me, which is, what's this? Clear stage 8 of Supreme Magnificent Battle Dragon Ball Super Edition with 6 artificial life forms. Oh, that was the anniversary, like 9th anniversary, like Beast Gohan with the artificial life forms, right? Which a lot of people struggled with. Funnily enough, the release of like the Battlefield LR Hachiyak was actually helpful for people like beating that mission, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, it's like, I think it's interesting to have these missions that are difficult. And it's like, I do very much agree, and I've said this when people have like come into the stream or just commented on videos saying that, like, you know, one or certain ones of the new missions are like way too hard and they can't do them. And it's like, you don't have to do it straight away, right? Like, I know a lot of people want to, and there is that completionist aspect, but like, yeah, you don't have to beat all the new events like on the first day they come out. You know, they can be there as a milestone, like as a challenge for you to build towards. And like, as you then get more units and your box gets stronger, and you can build slightly different teams, it's then something you can come back to, and then get done, right? Which, yeah, I do get on the one hand, especially for me, I have that completionist aspect for Dokkan sometimes. I want to get all of the missions done as soon as I can. But it is kind of cool. I get, like, it's a bit over, like, dramatized here, I guess, right? Like, it's funny. I loved knowing it was taunting me. But, like, yeah, having that mission there that's like a milestone you can work towards, I think is pretty cool. So, number 6, I'm a Pettan defender. Have been since day one. I genuinely love the collecting aspect of it. For such a simple game mode that doesn't require much time, it does tend to get a lot of hate. I don't think it's the greatest thing in the world, but it hurts no one. I mean, yeah, I don't know if I would go as far, but you guys have heard me say this before. Like, I don't understand when people say they hate Pettan, because it's like, what is there to hate about it? It's like a mode that, and I've used this meme many times, I say, like, it's what Chain Battle defenders used to try and say Chain Battle was, where it's a mode that you open it up and it literally takes like a minute to set it up, and then you're done, and then you can come back to it like an hour or 2 or 3, whatever you set your fights up for, later, and just set it up again, and then just get a bunch of free rewards. And it does it all while you're not even playing the game as well. So you have that potential to get a bunch of these extra rewards for free. It's been updated a bit, like here and there, so we now have like those gold stickers that you can get as the reward from Baba, because really the best thing you could get before was like hidden potential orbs, which if you've been playing the game for a very long time like me, like I have so many, I don't need other events that can give me more. So having those gold stickers that then let you get things like a few stones and link skill orbs, stuff like that, I know the only reason I can think of, the big one I've seen people say that they don't like it, is the people that do have that collector or completionist mentality, and like it can be really annoying sometimes, like you don't finish the set, so you don't get the mission for like getting all the stickers in the set. I've been quite lucky because I do just regularly set up my fights, and then when they finish I set them up again. Like usually I get them all the stickers like when the set comes back the next time. Like I don't normally get them all the first time a new set is out, but then when Pettan comes back around again and that set is available again, I usually end up getting the last ones that I was missing. But I can understand it being annoying if you can't get them, but then also at the same time you have to think about the fact that like you do still get some free stones. Even just getting half the set gets you, I think it's like 5 stones, and then when you finish the set you get another 5. But, I mean, it's not a lot, it's literally just a single, but 5 extra stones for free for a mode where you don't actually really have to do anything apart from set up the fights with some stickers and then off you go. I genuinely don't understand. Like, the one part I really agree with from this take is, for such a simple game mode that doesn't require much time, it tends to get a lot of hate. And then, yeah, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it hurts no one. Because, yeah, I mean, if you don't like it, don't do it, and you just miss out on, like, a couple of extra stones. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, I never really understand when people say they hate it, but it is what it is. But number 7, this guy is up there with one of the worst releases of all time in Majin Vegeta. You had to compete in red zone with this, did no damage, tanking was inconsistent with orbs, which even with them still couldn't slot 1 reliably, needed a bad trunks for it, just awful. Bro active, and his active did damage to himself, yeah, and then this is like a screenshot of his team, which wasn't particularly good. I mean, this is on JP as well, though. I mean, the thing is, for Global, whilst it's also true that there wasn't like a great Trunks to run him with at the time, for Global, he was the first, because of Saiyan Day, right? He was the first 200% lead that Global got. And obviously Global got a couple of 200% leads early before the anniversary, which then made a massive difference to like beating the anniversary content, like already having 200% leaders in the game. Because by the time the anniversary dropped for Global, we had Majin Vegeta, Captain Ginyu, and then the Goku, Gohan, and Cell from Golden Week. And I was a Majin Vegeta defender. He wasn't the best unit for sure, and it was one of those things where it did kind of take until the LR Trunks and Vegeta came out for him to really have a good Trunks option for the team. But I always thought he was pretty cool. He wasn't the best for sure, but I definitely don't agree that he's like one of the worst releases of all time. I mean, it says he's up there with one of the worst releases of all time, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's that bad, but I suppose if you then think about the fact that like the next year after him, we then got Physical God Goku, who ended up being like, he was just the best TUR in the game on release, like hands down. So yeah, the difference in quality there is obviously very, very noticeable. But yeah, I don't know if I would say he's one of the worst releases of all time. Let me know what you guys think for INT Majin Vegeta. Hopefully his Easy A should be upcoming in the next few months and will be good, but we'll see. Number 8, my thoughts on the state of 10th year, and the part that gets me is this is supposed to be Dokkan's grand magnum opus year, and I did not feel that besides for anniversary and GDC. There shouldn't have been so many fumbles, and being compared to the 9th year upsets me. I do kind of agree with this. Like, there was all this hype going into the start of the 10th year with this whole, like, you know, this is going to be a crazy year for Dokkan. It's the 10th anniversary. We are going to go, like, all out. It's going to be, you know, absolutely wild. And some of the stuff has been really good. Like, as they say here, right? The anniversary and the GDC, I think overall were both really good. They released really good units. I mean, the celebration itself, like the 10th anniversary, is the best celebration we've ever had in Dokkan. I think the pacing was good for a change, which can be very rare in Dokkan sometimes. It always felt like, and I don't know if this is revisionist history or if it's like looking back with rose-tinted glasses or something, but it always felt like there was something to do. Like every couple of days, it felt like there was a new stage or a new Easy A or something. Whereas even like the GDC, there was periods where like a bunch of stuff came out and then nothing happened for an entire week, which is common in Dokkan, but is annoying when it happens in like big hype celebrations. But then, yeah, for the rest of the year, like we've got stuff like Golden Week being a fumble, A lot of these like filler Dokkan Fest where there just was barely any content, and then again like waiting a whole week for something else to happen. Characters that like even though they were really good, like Tao, not super hype for a lot of people. And yeah, just like questionable decisions being made, I suppose. They've done a lot of great stuff. Dokkan Day, so many extra free tickets for summons, the summon points being a thing that's been introduced as well. Like there's a lot of new ways to get units that there wasn't before. But yeah, I think like overall, outside of those two big celebrations, it has kind of felt like a normal Dokkan year. And sometimes there's been some stuff that has been really good, and like good releases that are strong and fun, like Daima Goku, Goma. But for the most part, outside of those two big celebrations, it has kind of felt like a normal year, which I guess is a bit disappointing considering, as they say here, it's supposed to be this like grand 10th year super celebration for the whole year kind of thing, which is a bit disappointing, but let me know what you guys think. Number 9, good sub EZAs are one of my favourite parts of Dokkan because I have no expectations for them and they can blow me away if they're only just good. These guys had really fun qualities about them. It was worth running even over generally strong units. Yeah, characters like Tech-based Vegeta was really good on release. The Tech 18. Physical Kaioken Goku, I thought he was kind of fun, but wasn't necessarily that great. This physical Goku was kind of good for events where you could stun. Like, good sub-EZAs are something that we never really expect. I mean, we barely even expect to actually get sub-EZAs anymore because of how infrequently we have been getting them recently. But yeah, a good sub-EZA can definitely be a super fun, like super good part of the game when they do eventually come around. We've got some great competitors for upcoming. I was really hoping that something would drop with Goma, right? Because we've got characters like old sub-EZAs like INT Turles, Physical Slug, INT Garlic Jr. Like there's so many of these random sub-EZAs that could be really, really good. That we just don't get to see a lot of the time. And I think it would be fun to get more of them more often, rather than, as we joke about, the game seemingly forgetting they exist for a somewhat significant amount of time. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to see when the next ones are going to be, because it looks like the content is basically done for this celebration. No EZA in the part 2 with Goma or anything, which is very disappointing. They could have EZA'd a bunch of like Demonic Power or Terrifying Conquerors, like sub-EZA characters, to all go on his team, which would have been cool. Even if it's just one Extreme Z battle, but it EZA'd like 3 or 4 sub-EZA characters, like that would be fine. I know people would complain, like, why isn't it 4 separate EZAs so I can get 120 stones? But I'd rather just have the EZAs and have them be good, even if they all come from one Extreme Z battle, and I think that would have been really good, but they didn't do that, so we'll have to see when the next ones are going to be, I guess. Number 10, Dokkan is at its most fun when older units are viable for the difficult content. I love not relying on the new units or newest units and can make some of the older units work. It's my major complaint with 10th year because there's no room to experiment with. I do kind of get that, yeah, because like with the way the content is at the moment, in terms of the content that is the most difficult, that you can't really just bring in like, I'm going to bring in this random unit from like a year and a half ago, and because of this one specific ability they have, they'll be really good in this event, because most of the difficult content now is just bosses hitting really hard and having lots of HP. So there's nothing really, you know, I guess there are still some exceptions with characters, you know, like INT Fat Boo and strategically placing him and using his revive and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not something that's as common now with how tough these fights are and how long they can be. Because even things like, you know, when the tech, using the tech androids like Ghost Usher was like a viable thing, kept them relevant in difficult content even when realistically they were outdated, but you could throw them into like some events and then just be able to use the Ghost Usher to keep them alive. I mean, it's why you see them a lot. If you ever see people on your own list who've done like the 999 stages of an EZA, a lot of those teams, when you look at the list and see the team they actually used to beat stage 999, a lot of those teams will have the tech androids on, because the first time they appear on rotation, you just put them in slot 3, so they're not going to come back for like 3 turns and get you killed, and just use their active skill, and you get that whole first or second turn of the fight where you can't take any damage, which makes those harder stages of those EZAs obviously a little bit easier. But yeah, I kind of agree. There isn't a lot of room for experimentation with the current hardest events in the game because of just how hard they are. There doesn't really leave a lot of room for being able to use weaker but more fun characters, right? So I definitely agree with that. So yeah, let's see. We got number 11 is I despise the change that made Dokkan events open every day because it ruined the use of these keys for me. I like to min-max my stamina for link leveling, and I would grind medals whenever I didn't have any more stamina. It's amazing for new players, but sucks for me. I guess, yeah, this is just one of those like old head Dokkan, like a change that kind of changes the way you were approaching the game, which, I mean, I've never seen anyone say this before. I mean, having the Dokkan events every day, like, was really good. And I guess, like, yeah, I guess that what they're saying is they used to use all of their stamina for link leveling and then use the keys to play Dokkan events that weren't around at the time because they had no stamina, but they would use the keys to get Dokkan medals. But, like, also, if they're a longer term player, wouldn't they have had all the characters awakened? They're just farming like extra medals for future LR drops or something, I guess. Like, this is one of those ones, doesn't really seem like a huge issue to me. Not something that I particularly care about. I mean, I have a ton of those keys now, which are basically useless because I never need to play like old events that aren't available or anything. But yeah, this one seems like a bit of a random, probably only really affects this person or maybe a few other people, but let me know what you guys think down below. Number 12, his original release gaps any other free-to-play LR. Everyone else had opportunities they can die in, but this guy hit hard and tanked every super. His way in a meta, you were spamming items. It's genuinely absurd how this guy gets overlooked, especially since he aged well too. I mean, yeah, this guy on release was crazy. I mean, free-to-play units, there wasn't really much instance that I can remember back when I was like, this guy came out not long after I was first making content. And I don't remember there being many free-to-play units that were actually even usable in difficult content back then. And this guy obviously was really good. Obviously, there was the funny shenanigans with like his Easy A being announced and seemingly being so bad that everybody complained, and then he was actually buffed before the Easy A released, which is kind of funny. But yeah, his Easy A probably wasn't as great, even with the buff. His Easy A probably wasn't as great as it could have been, but he's definitely a great unit, and like, realistically, he's probably not that far. Maybe sometime within the next year or so, he could get a super Easy A, which would be pretty interesting. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what they decide to do. But yeah, this guy definitely has a great legacy. It is funny as well, of course, that he was the LR election like character and was probably by far at the time like the most hype character on the list. So it was kind of like no surprise to anybody that he was the one that ended up winning, which is a shame because obviously the point that a lot of people made at the time was that, you know, Vegito Blue was always going to get an LR at some point, whereas the LR election could have given a character, like imagine Kid Buu was on there. Imagine if he won the LR election and we wouldn't have ever had this meme about like 11 years into Dokkan and we still don't have an LR Kid Buu, which is kind of funny. But yeah. 13, scripted fights are extremely boring to me because it takes away any element of surprise. This fight especially cancels dodge, so there's no room for lucky moments. You know you're 100% safe or 100% dead before you even reach that turn. That is true, yeah. It's one of those things where, I mean, sometimes I forget because I know that some of the fights have scripted supers, and I look up the details on Dokkan Info, and even with like this chart here and the way it's listed below, unless I have it up and I'm looking at it literally while I'm playing, I will forget sometimes. Like, unless it's a very easy to remember, like this unit always super attacks here kind of scripted thing. Like as in always supers in the same slot, so then it's kind of very easy to remember. But I do kind of get this. I guess the only good combo for having the scripted fights is for the ones that are really, really hard, because then I suppose it gives you that way to strategize and like plan and know that you have to have like a specific unit in a specific slot at a specific time. Otherwise you're gonna die to a super. as opposed to other events where it's just complete luck of the draw and the unit could super in the one particular slot you really don't want them to super in. And then you just get caught, right? So I could see like in two minds about it. Like, it's a thing that Dokkan has started doing a bit more recently and has done a couple of times. I wouldn't say I'm like super opposed to it, but yeah, it's not the greatest thing. It's just another thing, I guess, a different kind of thing to work around. But then we have 14 Red Zone Broly. Power creep was brutal, but I think it's overlooked how many units in the previous years aged incredibly well. Once they got a team, they were performing great, and not only there, because there was not that many options. Yeah, Gohan has aged like crazy good. The tech androids we already talked about with their active skill were really useful for some things, and even against Broly, like the last two phases were Ki Blast supers, which means they could nullify them. Gogeta, Janemba and Pycon obviously were very good and lasted quite a while, especially Pycon with like having the dodge and the support and the Ghost Usher active skill as well. Yeah, Red Zone Broly power creep was brutal, but yes, there are a lot of characters that got like some decent buffs around that time that could be very good. I feel like this isn't like a very specific take, it's more so just the fact that like some units from the previous years aged well, like up into or like then at the time of the Broly Red Zone release, I guess, which I do agree with. Piggybacking off the previous take, Cell Max power creep was absurd and isn't talked about much with strongest power creeps. It's a testament to how well those TURs aged. They could handle their own in a much more demanding fight than Red Zone Broly. Yeah, this is an interesting one because I don't know if I would say it was power creep. It's a very specific event. And it's kind of weird to talk about power creep because people obviously were shocked at first how difficult this event was. But then people started figuring out like the characters that were really good to use here. And some of them were much older characters that you wouldn't necessarily have expected to be good in the event, ended up being good in the event, which it's kind of a weird one. Like, I don't know how I would consider that like power creep in the sense that the event was super hard, and at the time it came out, it seemed like the hardest event. But then people figured out strategies where even older units that weren't good in other difficult content that was out at the time were good against Cell Max. So I guess it's like a different kind of power creep, but let me know what you think. This phrase for category/restriction missions is extremely overlooked with silly shenanigans you can do. It's extremely free to play friendly and allows so much creativity, which I love to venture. The goofiest team ever. Oh yeah, the friends do not count, right? So here, like this example is for the corroded body and mind mission, using all pure Saiyans or Potara characters, and then just using a Tech Vegito friend. Because, yeah, friend doesn't count. So this will complete you the 6 corroded body and mind characters mission. And as long as you're okay in the early turns, like you can see here using some items, then Tech Vegito just fuses active skill turn and takes care of the end of the event for you. So, yeah, that's the thing to always remember. And I mention it in my videos when I do those mission runs. The fact that the friend doesn't count is like a huge thing, like, and the fact that I mentioned it recently when talking about the value that Tech Vegito still has. I think when I did my last like LR tier list, I even mentioned the fact that there are missions you can do where you just bring a Tech Vegito friend, because the friend doesn't matter for the mission, and then he like sweeps the end of the event for you, right? So definitely agree with that. 17, I think there's a lot of units that have weird notoriety when they were just simply mid. These guys mostly don't do anything, but there's so many similar units in every year that should get the same treatment. INT Goku's a bit more understandable because of the naming. I don't know, do these guys... I mean, Broly does have notoriety for being really bad. I don't know if like he's saying they're just simply mid. I don't know if that means like they're saying that like Broly isn't as bad as people say and he's just mid. Because I feel like he is as bad as like the memes and stuff make out. Because even on release he's pretty bad. Like his EZA was pretty bad. Like, yeah, I feel like he's definitely not just mid. LR Super Boo I actually think was a bit underrated at the time. Android Super 17, the Tech LR, he was definitely terrible on release. I don't think he was just mid. We've already talked about how badly his thing was handled in the way that, like, you know, not long after his release, they ended up bringing out characters that had nullification and like Ki Blast absorption and all this kind of stuff. all the abilities that technically a Super 17 character should have, and they got released into the game just after he came out, which is really disappointing. But and then yeah, in Universe Tree Goku was just terrible. Probably just mid. I guess he wasn't completely awful, but yeah, because he was just another Goku as well, pretty bad. Number 18 is STR Piccolo. Undeniably the greatest banner unit ever. Dude's only restriction was to be stuck on the best team in the game, and he was God. Still was meta a year later, and used him even in Goku and Frieza during the 9th year content. I mean, yeah, this guy was super, super good. He's just a perfect example of a banner unit that was absolutely fantastic. One of the best banner units ever, probably. Is he undeniably the greatest one ever? I don't know, maybe. He stayed relevant for such a long time that you probably could make that argument, because he probably was. I'm trying hard to think of any other ones that maybe were similar, but he probably was relevant longer than any other banner unit that I can think of. So yeah, definitely an absolute GOAT. 19, the best villain of all time isn't even an LR or came from a major celebration. His lead was genuinely just Extreme Class 170 and was well designed in being the best support in the game to help out your units, or himself became the Juggernaut transformed. Generational release. 100% agree with this. Like, his team at the time was absolutely crazy. I mean, the best unit in the game around that time was Tech Gohan, and people then, like, there was the legitimate discussion of who's better, Tech Gohan or this cooler. And his leader skill, like having the 2 categories 170 that were basically all of the best extreme units in the game at the time. It practically was just an extreme leader skill. Wasn't quite everyone, but like the best units in the game at the time were largely all there. So it was definitely a very, very crazy leader skill. And yeah, like I say, the discussion was there in the community that this guy was like better than the unit that at that point was basically considered the best unit in the game. So he definitely was an amazing release. I always loved this unit. You guys know, if you've been around the channel, like I've talked about, as much as I love Bardock and Marseillan, like in terms of villain characters, Final Form Cooler is like my favorite design villain. So I've always loved this unit. I love the STR LR. Can't wait for his Easy A. But yes, generational release for sure. STR Gogeta's legacy is Mickey, so this will be my only agenda pushing. Most players probably don't know that resetting the app completely redid the turn, so it meant you could reset for infinite scouters and infinite stuns. I'm not sure what that has to do with the Gogeta legacy, unless you're talking about like... Because he gapped the game on release, like, undoubtedly. But I guess what they're saying is you didn't need him to beat events as much as people... Because people talk about how, oh, you know, you had to have Gogeta. If you didn't have Gogeta set as your friend, people would unfriend you, or like people wouldn't accept your friend requests because he was the best unit in the game and he absolutely destroyed everything. He had the best leader skill. But I think what the take is basically saying is that like you didn't need to have him because you used to be able to when you did the app reset, as this person says here, and some people might not know this, but the whole turn would reset right to the beginning. So if you got super attacked in slot 3, like before you died, as the actual super attack animation was starting and you could see the enemy was obviously supering you, before it hit you and did the damage and killed you, you could close the app, reopen it, and instead of now, where it would start from the actual start of the turn, so there was nothing you could do because it would start off with like the slot 1 attacks and everything, it would just go back to the beginning of that turn. So then you could move a unit into slot 3 that could tank, or you could like move a stunner into a different slot, or just try the same rotation again and hope you actually get the stun. And again, if you didn't, you could just reset it again. Like, I think that's what they're saying is like, as much as Gogeta was really good, I don't think they're saying he's not, but like you didn't need him in order for the game like to, you know, be able to still beat everything in the game, I guess. Because, yeah, 20B, it says, welcome to the real king of Dokkan, SSR INT Turles. The best unit in Dokkan history didn't even have an awakening. He was up there in leader skill and gave key, so supering was much easier. You could theoretically do the hardest event at the time with 5 Cybermen and no items. Yeah, because this guy, I remember when he released, because I think he did have an all types leader skill with key, which was very rare at the time, was one of the reasons why Gogeta was so good. But he didn't give any stats, I don't think. But that was fine for making a team, because everyone got some key. He supported and gave some key as well. But yeah, he was a stunner. So you could go into an event with double Turles, and then not even a particularly great team, And as long as the Turles on the first turn got the stun, which as we already saw in the earlier take, and as we've already talked about, you could just reset the app and try and actually fish for getting the stun on that turn. Then you'd stun on turn 1 and could then essentially do the same thing on turn 2 to get the stun with the other one, and then just basically keep the enemy stunned forever. And then every event was like I remember around the time, I think it was when Buhan came out, there was like a mono int team you could run that was basically Buhan and then like a whole team of stunners. And even though the team didn't do a lot of damage, because a lot of those stunners were quite weak offensively, you could just stun lock the enemy forever. So as long as you didn't instantly die slot 1 on turn 1, then you could just beat like every single event without really much challenge at all. So interesting. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting take, that because of the way you could manipulate the game and the way stuns were so effective at the time, the idea that unawakened INT Turles was actually better than Gogeta in terms of how easy it was to beat all the content is kind of funny. But I can kind of see the argument, right? I don't know if I necessarily agree, but I absolutely see like where this person is coming from, which is kind of funny. So end of thread. I love Dokkan. It's genuinely my favourite game of all time. Really am passionate and hope it has a bright future. Been saving since the beginning of the 10th anniversary part 2, so ending with my stone count alongside my favourite units of all time. So we've got the Gods, Future Gohan and Trunks, STR Future Gohan, the 8-year Buu Duo, Physical, Super Saiyan 2 to 3 Goku and INT Fat Buu, and the stone count is, what, 5,827, damn. Well, there you go. So that was an interesting thread of takes for sure. Some I agreed with, some I didn't agree with. Some were certainly very interesting. Shout out to Gino. If they do end up seeing this, very interesting takes. Let me know what you thought of my thoughts on your thoughts. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. And as I said, I've been doing some of these recently while there hasn't been as much going on in the game. So if you guys see any other interesting takes threads that you want me to cover, do feel free to send me the links, like at me in the Discord. Join the Discord anyway, be part of the community, because I think YouTube won't let you post links in the comments of the video anyway. But if you've seen one that you want me to see, ping me in the Discord. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on this one down below. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.